All right. Let's go ahead and start off with a little bit of tactics show. Let's go down to Statesboro, Georgia.
Tormenta and Richmond faced off in the League One opener on Friday night, and I was very impressed by Tormenta's ability to play directly through the midfield and feature their forward line in a very fluid 4-2-4 setup. You're seeing here Sebastian Vivas, the main striker, dropping in, trying to contest a play, and Aaron Walker, one of the center midfielders in a two-man pivot, immediately looking upfield when he gets possession. You see what that's liberating. Mason Tunbridge, who is almost playing a hold-up number 10 role, is able to receive from that direct pass, turn, and make use of a run from Vivas that's filling the far lane, distracting defenders, and opening up a spot for Tormenta to get a shot on goal. This is open play, it's fluidity, and it's what this team did best and ought to look for this season.
While we will get into Tormenta's side of this because what they did was impressive, more so impressive is what Richmond did. 4 goals in the first game. I mean, it was, you see 1-0. What was it? 1-0, 2-0, or 1-1, and then 2-1, and 2-2, and then 3-2. And it's like, what is going on? And then you only get 1 goal in the second half. Super, what are we doing? Like, we got to score more goals. We got to get back into this. The second half is so boring, apparently. But, I mean, Hayden Anderson getting started early. And then, like you kind of mentioned it, John, Vivas looked fantastic, not to be outdone by Mason Turnbridge, though. It was a fantastic opener to the men's professional season.
On the Richmond side of things, because I think you're right to spotlight them, this is a club that, if not leading the league in possession last year, nearly did so. And they only held about a third of the ball in this game. They were willing to let Tormenta kind of run it out with their 4-2-4, really let Reed Steffen and Nyanjo overextend on the wings. And as soon as they got the ball back, they were driving through Seufert as this pivot player in the middle, letting him either work it to him, Anderson and Fitch, find Darwin Espinal on the left. It was a different approach for Richmond, but it felt like the evolution you wanted to see from this team over the offseason. Obviously, I highlighted in the tactics show, I liked a lot of the ideas that Tormenta had. They lacked the balance to really pull it off at the end of the day against a good or organized Richmond team that returned a lot of players. But Tormenta's going to make noise if they can figure out how to maintain that spark while adding a little bit more defensive solidity to their shape.
I thought the precision that Richmond showed in their approach was really impressive because it's easy to sort of soak up pressure, but making those counters count is not the simplest thing. And Espinal in particular was just he was an absolute menace. As soon as he got to the byline, it was just over. And they were just very sharp in how they opened Tormenta up. I think Richmond will come up against teams where they find it tougher to do this for sure this year. I think, like you said, John, the balance for Tormenta just made this a little bit easier on Richmond than it probably should have been. But overall, like, I was really impressed with how Richmond were able to execute their game plan because, like John was saying, like early doors, it was like, I was like, Tormenta's about to run them off the park. Like the way that their attacking movement was, it just looked like it was going to be very one-sided, and credit to Richmond for executing their game plan extremely well.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at a Tormenta team who nearly had 500 accurate passes from this one match. It was very much a match that they controlled possession-wise at 70%, but Richmond, for the first time since July 2022, scored 4 goals in a USL match that they won. So it's been a long time since we've seen a Richmond performance of this magnitude and on this scale. And I do at least want to give a shout out that they at least helped me cash my first USL bet of the season in the first half, no less. So very happy day for myself and for the Richmond kickers faithful.
Just one thing, and I understand not all the shots from Tormenta were threatening, but the difference that Sneddon has made for Richmond, like, he has shored up a lot of the issues. You mentioned it, Ryan. They would score goals, and because, I mean, they have arguably one of the best, if not the best, forward line in USL League One when you're looking at name power alone, right? It's incredible. And you mentioned Espinal, Phil. There's obviously Terzaghi, who is just him. You had Chandler O'Dwyer, who was great. You had Seifert start. That's a great lineup. And they're going to score goals, but can the defense hold up? In this match, they did. But, John, I kind of want to pivot. Let's look at Tormenta. They looked, again, you mentioned the tactics show. The middle of the park was a lot more solid than I thought it would be. I didn't think that's where the strength was. I mean, I was looking at Taylor Gray and saying he's going to be the superstar on this team, and they didn't need him to be. They looked great in the middle of the field.
You think about Aaron Walker and Gabriel Cabral and that pivot, both of them very clean on the ball, good in how they were receiving, how they were turning when they got passes coming their way. The progressivity they had and the spark of that forward line just made a lot of sense. And I think Tunbridge was a key in terms of almost the hold-up play he was offering at some moments, but mixing in the ability to make the runs over the top. This is going to be a very diverse attack with a lot of outlets. Obviously, there needed to be more of a defensive presence. I don't think Cabral and Walker had the chemistry down yet, which isn't a shock this early in the season. I know Cabral in particular was kind of late coming into camp, was in Brazil for quite a while. That'll improve. I wonder how long a leash does Ian Cameron give it before he starts to mix things up.
Any final thoughts on this League One match before we go on to the championship?
Cabral being back at Tormenta is crazy. I'm shocked that someone didn't snag him from Miami.
Crazy.
Because he was held hostage there last season. So